One more day until the latest earnings for Palantir's Q3 results. Now, down to the wire, they are closing out submissions and voting for questions. And what I enjoy the most about this, even if I disagree with some of the questions proposed, this is the closest to an official forum we get for the Palantir retail community that has a chance to be answered by management themselves for earnings. So there are now some concerns and maybe even overlooked questions that I do want to cover. So we'll start out with the top voted ones, but even if near the bottom of the list, some did catch my attention to at least comment on. So starting with the top voted question with around 1,800 votes is actually pretty good. What new products are planned for the next quarter that will help Palantir gain new market share? I like this question because it's not an automatic requirement that would be answered through earnings results anyways, and it's actually something worth commenting on for management. Now, for predictions, though, I have no idea if the company has something up their sleeves for revealing a new product, but also it can come down to defining what a product is in the minds of Palantir. They've got all their flagship products we know about working together that has basically built out an ecosystem, but within these products, you can say there are modules and solutions that are constantly getting revealed through their demos, announcements, and many more. And no doubt these are built out by use cases from real life that they see across their customer base where someone found something valuable. So why wouldn't the wider customer base feel any different about that? Now, another element too to this question is specifically about gaining new market share. So it can be asking how they can further differentiate their product from the competition. And my opinion on this matter is that Palantir may overlap with plenty of other companies in the software space at different points. But having the whole ecosystem provided where AI kind of relies on that foundation of your data with the ontology, all the way to the implementation of the models needing to be on the same page, is pretty incredible to pull off, even if there aren't spectacular sides of every single aspect. The real value here being offered by Palantir is closing this loop where the left hand knows what the right hand is exactly doing, therefore it can adapt to the circumstances as accurately as possible. So we'll see if Palantir pulls off any surprise reveals around their products. Now, the next top voted question, and this shows up several times throughout the questions here, but at number 2, we keep hearing about dividends. So anyone who thinks this is in the near future, I'm definitely not holding my breath personally, but also the question being worded this way is generalized that it can literally mean anything timeline wise. And anyone in leadership that is media trained would definitely just do a non-answer here, essentially saying they will do what is best for their business and shareholders according to their financial position. Now, what I really think this question means reading between the lines is how is Palantir showing their shareholders that they are aligned and continue to try to win the market while being fiscally responsible to deploy cash the way that they think is best to maximize that ROI. And if it's dividends sometime in the future, so be it. But maybe I'm overcomplicating this question and giving too much credit, then I think it's just way too early to even think about this. But I'm in the boat once they offer a dividend, no matter how far they are into the future, it means there is such an abundance of resources that Palantir wouldn't know how to deploy it best anymore within their current business model and is okay with signaling to their shareholders that they are in such a strong financial position to continue innovating while also returning cash to shareholders. So it'd probably be more symbolic at that point. Now, the next top voted question is about Palantir seeing massive growth, which I'm assuming is reference to their financials like profitability, top line growth, and everything there. And is asking if they anticipate this growth to continue at the current rate. So this will already be naturally answered by the numbers themselves and guidance given. But if management does add some extra color around their expectations and growth, like any headwinds or tailwinds, then this is certainly welcome by all to hear. Now, they did give some specificity around continuing the current rate of growth, and really this question is digging at, are we going to see a consistent growth rate or something maybe accelerating or decelerating? Now, obviously, any slowdown in growth needs to be taken on with the bullet being bitten by management, where I'd say being forthcoming, even if painful in the near term, is necessary to keep the trust in the company that they will run around and turn things around. Or in another scenario, saying growth continuing at the current rate can still shoot themselves in the foot because I'd say the narrative right now relies on that rate of growth actually increasing or getting faster. So I think paying attention to the management's comments on around expecting similar growth or saying high growth is still fundamentally different than saying growing faster or accelerating growth. It may be nitpicky, but the language and numbers around growth continues to matter since the multiples that are accepted by the market more than likely expects them to reach a point of an exponential slope rather than a constant one. And this language doesn't necessarily mean it has to happen right now. I'd say most people want it to still be in the books for Palantir's management, where they at least think it is coming rather than having no idea at all or their expectations with customers and revenue acquisition. Now, those are the top 3 questions by vote, but there were a few that caught my eye, even if they are lower on the list. So, first of these are, you're going to expand to more than just AI. Now, the phrasing of this question I'm not a fan of, and it can be similar to the most top voted question about releasing new products. But I think this question is also seeing what are the opportunities that Palantir sees for their business that isn't necessarily covered by their products today. Now, I'm in the boat of going where the money is, doubling down your efforts where you're seeing the growth. But even if this is more closely related to R&D and experimentation on the side to innovate, and of course build something in anticipation of demand, then I'd be curious to know too. And maybe it's hard to envision because artificial intelligence is the hot thing right now, dominating the headlines and being the main focus. But going beyond AI still can be in the cards for Palantir. We know amongst their products, Apollo, I'd say, is a different product, at least in relation to Foundry as well as Gotham. And even if they are still related and wrap and work together, it is kind of what I envision in being outside of the AI bucket too. Now, if there's a branch off from all this work that they're doing with AIP, I think naturally over time, the use cases, even if not AI related, can still come about this work that they have with clients. I can't predict, of course, the future, but with the way Palantir continues dropping new demos and solutions with their products, I think looking for the next innovative idea, even beyond AI, is still happening at the company. But if it deviates resources and concentration from the market that is working right now, I'd say this will be a lower priority. Then another low voted question at around 123 votes, are there any B2C products in the works? This is more of an opinion by myself, of course, but I hope Palantir doesn't create any direct-to-consumer products. Their bread and butter right now is serving the enterprises that are needed to fix and improve their own operations, but also B, how they can best serve their clients, which in turn is kind of that indirect way of making a B2C product if it's a consumer in the end line. Now, I don't speak for the companies, so maybe they are interested in doing something B2C themselves, but I'd say the closest thing to here is that they want to be the enablers of even individual entrepreneurs, say using Build with AIP, where the downstream consumers at the very end of the line do indirectly in turn has Palantir serving the B2C market. And then being the foundational way to build these products, I'd say, is more powerful and scalable, considering their experience serving the enterprise rather than making something direct to consumers. But I guess I can never say never. And we've got a funny one here, at least in wording, but I think it is important to point out. Where's the buybacks? Thank you. So the past couple quarters, we've seen Palantir actually buying back shares. Now, it's very, very small, of course, but retiring shares is always a great signal, at least in my book, because most of the time it should mean that Palantir's management believes there's some undervaluedness in their stock, and therefore it's efficient for them to buy back some shares at that point. Now, at all-time highs, we'll see if this trend continues where they buy back a tiny bit amount, although their money won't go as far here in this case with a higher price, but the cash pile can even be made more useful still sitting in treasuries, I'd say, if there are still concerns on persistent inflation, where even if rates don't go up, they still might sustain an attractive rate for treasuries, that it just makes sense to park the cash there instead of buying back shares. Now, buying back shares at the current multiple today can be seen as a financial engineering, but everyone's going to have their own 2 cents on what's going to be fair value anyways. And I'd say in the long term, the little buys today won't offset the awarding of shares and dilution that is still very symbolic today, I'd say. So if we ever get to FANG amount of cash, maybe with less opportunities for growth, then setting up a true buyback program to retire shares responsibly that makes a huge impact is something I'd like to see, but probably farther in the future. So this is the pulse right now for retail, it looks like, for the top of mind questions for upcoming earnings. So we'll see if we get some juicy details from management on these questions. But what are your thoughts though below? And I'll see you in the next video.